Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very senior and respected corporate leader, a best-selling author from Singapore, but speaking to us today from London, Mr. Aseem Puri. Aseem, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Great to be here.
Thank you. Aseem is the Chief Executive Officer of Unilever International, and he's an author. And all of you know I'm very partial to authors. He's an author of a book titled 10x Productive. Aseem is also the winner of the Marketing Excellence Award, the CMO Council Award. He's been selected by Times of India as one of India's 24 leading emerging leaders for the future in Lead India. And he's a three-time winner of the HUL Chairman's Award and Global Category Unilever Award. Aseem, with the kind of recognition that you have and the kind of work that you've been doing, I'm going to ask you my first question to tell me about your own journey in brief before we come to your book.
Sure. Thanks, Ashutosh. Great to be here on the brand called You. And I'm, of course, from India, as you rightly mentioned. And I started my career in Hindustan Lever in marketing and did a variety of roles, primarily in the home care category, working on fantastic brands like Surf Excel, Rin, Wheel, building a lot of great campaigns like Daag Achhe Hain, which I'm sure many of us have seen and really like the brand. And then moved on to Singapore to do global roles within Unilever. And while doing all of this, I've always had a passion for writing. And that passion was a bit dormant for some time because I was very busy with work. And last 2-3 years post-COVID, like for many of us, was a trigger point of really relooking at what we do every day. And I really wanted to bring my thoughts out. So I started blogging on LinkedIn about 3 years ago, very much the way you started the brand called You 5 years ago, as you mentioned. And since then, that's been getting traction both within the company, outside. Some of the articles I've written have helped a lot of people who've given me positive feedback. So I thought, okay, while I'm building my marketing career, building brands globally, and it is indeed a busy job because my job covers pretty much the whole world and involves a lot of travel. But despite that, I said, okay, can I really put my thoughts out there and really help others, inspire others? So that's really the motivation behind putting all of the articles together into a book, which just got launched a couple of months back and has been getting good reviews both in Singapore and India, where it's available on Amazon.
Thank you. So before I talk about the book, I'm going to ask all our viewers and listeners to go and check out Mr. Aseem Puri's book, 10x Productive. I've not yet ordered a copy, which I will soon after our conversation, but I've read lots of reviews of the book. So Aseem, my first question, what was your motivation to write 10x Productive, and what was the hypothesis that you started with?
Well, I think I'm a big believer that all of us have infinite potential and we can really achieve anything in life if we set our minds to it. But at work, what I found was that a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my junior people in the team were struggling with coping with, okay, it's a demanding job. There are different time zones in which we have to work because it's an international job. So sometimes you start the day early or you might end the day late. In some countries, the commutes are challenging. Therefore, that sucks up a lot of your time. And a lot of people were not spending adequate time either on health or with family or on things that really matter to you. And therefore, that was part one. The second part was people used to ask me, okay, oh, how come you are writing these articles? How come you are going and giving a talk at this conference while doing your job? So I started reflecting and saying, okay, maybe I have some habits that might be useful to others. So I started putting those out there as, like I said, a weekly LinkedIn blog and also on my site, aseempuri.com. And then I found from there that a few practical tips were really working for people. So for example, the idea of eating your frog first, which is really every day asking yourself, what's the most difficult, challenging, let's call it slightly unpleasant activity that I need to do, but that's still important. That may be exercise, or it may be calling an old friend, or it might be completing a key work project. And usually this would get procrastinated. Even I'm guilty of the same. But once you build that habit to say, ask yourself that question and write it down and then try to do that the first, you find the rest of the day gets easier. Or I found another interesting thing that we did a survey among the team on how people spend their time, right? And I was shocked to realize that almost 50%, 48% to be exact, of the time was being spent in meetings. And then when you analyze that, you realize that, okay, half the time, half the people in half the meetings are not talking. They're just passive receivers of information. Therefore, they really don't need to spend that time there. Or many meetings don't have clear agendas because the organizer has just called a bunch of people to solve a problem, and so on and so forth. So I started this movement within my small team to say, let's kill some what I call the meeting monster, which tends to creep up all the time on all of us, and fill our diaries and calendars with time. And every week build a habit that when you start the week early Monday or even on a Sunday evening, the first thing you're going to do is to, like the Buddhist monks say, empty your cup or clean your diary or kill the meeting monster, delete a few meetings. So these practices started to help the team. And then with my HR partner, I said, hey, while we are a high performing business, is it possible to have high performance and high care and good work life balance at the same time? So we said we don't know, but we said, how about if we implement these productivity practices? Can we be a role model organization as Unilever International, where we just have piloted the 4.5 day work week, which many people are surprised by because they say, look, you're a very intense, high performance company. How can you also have people shutting off on second half of Friday, having decent work-life balance? So I think these were the motivations. And of course, the small positive encouragements from others really help, right? So every time there's somebody posting a message on LinkedIn or one of my articles saying, hey, this helped me, or this is a good idea, or I tried it and it helped me, that's again impetus. And I guess, like you said, Ashutosh, there is a secret author inside all of us, right? All of us have something we would like to share with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And therefore, this was, let's say, the first, hopefully, of a few books that I will promote.
Absolutely. Well said. But, when I was reading about you and preparing for my conversation, I loved these few phrases that you have. So I'm going to ask you a little more about each one of them. But let me start with eat the frog first.
Sure.
What I understand from you is that do the more difficult task or do the most, first. But how does one identify what is the frog and how does one muster up the courage to eat the frog first?
Okay, I think great question. And look, it's different for everybody and it's different for us at different points in time, right? So, for example, the way I think about it is, if I like to create what is called a life list, where you would say, okay, look, for most of us, if you're 30 or 40, and like you said, your average listener age is 34, I ask people the question, how many weeks do you have left to live? Most people have no idea. I say, calculate it. And when you calculate, you realize it's 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. It's a few thousand Sundays, a few thousand Mondays. The question is, what do you want to accomplish in this time? Is it that you want to travel, and where do you want to travel? Is it that you want to achieve certain amount of financial wealth, or there is a health goal that you might have? So you write down your life goals. Against those life goals, you know what you need to do to achieve them. And from that list comes typically what would be the frog, or what's the most important thing that you want to do. That's one way of doing it.
Right.
For me, for example, eating the frog is the equivalent of, even when I'm traveling every day, I should be writing something inspiring. And maybe I will write about this conversation that we had after for 20, 30 minutes. Now, the second way to look at it is, ask yourself the question, what will make the biggest difference to my professional role in the short term? And typically the answer will not be reply to your emails or call somebody or attend a meeting. The answer will be work on a strategic project, complete that important presentation that you want to present to your seniors or your board or your team members, or organize a brainstorming session on a specific topic, or do some work with a customer. It'll be those kind of things. Write those down. And then the question is, if you can't do it for an hour, can you do it for 30 minutes? If you can't do it for 30 minutes, can you do it for 10 minutes? And if you ask yourself this question, you don't have to do it every day, but over a period of time, you start building the habit of asking yourself what's really important. Another phrase that I like to use is, don't make a to-do list. Instead, ask yourself, what's your MEAT, MEAT, most effective action today? So what's the one most important thing that if you accomplish today, in the evening, you'll feel like, today was a good day. Today I was successful. Today I was productive. Today I was happy. And for me, for example, it is talking to you about this book, 10x Productive here, which I've got right next to me.
Correct.
This to me is the meat of the day, meaning If in the rest of the day I don't accomplish anything else, but I have managed to share some ideas from these with you and with your listeners, then today is a good day for me. Therefore, one of the things that a lot of people get swamped by is, oh, I have 25 things to do. I have 30 things to do. I have some family stuff. I have this stuff, that stuff. So, okay, yes, you do. But ask yourself, what's your most effective action today? Which is also another way of saying, eat the frog in the morning. And then finally, I'm a big believer that, in India, we know that the early morning between 4 and 7 a.m. is typically when your body has the highest amount of cortisol, energy, awareness. And that's the time when you want to devote to your exercise, your meditation, whether it's prayer or doing some focus work. So if you again change the conversation to say, my frog is to just wake up early in the morning and focus on myself and even spend 30 minutes on doing a basic amount of breathing exercises and meditation, or doing a little bit of productive work, or writing even a simple diary of how my day went and what I want to do.
Yeah.
Any of these are, I would say, expressions of do the most effective action or eat the frog in the morning.
How wonderful. What a great response. Thank you. The next phrase that you spoke about was how I canceled 180 meetings. You did touch upon it a few minutes back, but in most corporate organizations, and I've worked in a few, meeting is the way to go. And meeting is the time, as you said, majority of the people are basically listeners and taking in a lot of data. But what strategies do you recommend, Aseem, to effectively manage and reduce unnecessary meetings?
Yeah. So I think the first thing to realize is that, which I started with, you have a few thousand weeks left. And I give you two simple statistics. You know how much time in your life you're going to spend in meetings roughly? Any guesses, Ashutosh, if you were to hazard a guess?
Yeah, but during a week, probably you were spending almost at a senior level, would end up spending at least 3 or 4 hours a day.
Right. So in your life, typically in your work life, you're going to spend 8 years of your life in a meeting room. 8 years.
Okay.
Now, another question, how much time in your life are you going to spend getting hugged and kissed?
Almost.
Including the time when you were a baby.
Yeah, almost negligible in comparison.
20 days, less than 1 month.
Wow.
You compare the two equations, you spend 8 years of your life in a meeting room, most of the time not remembering what happened there. And just 20 days of your life on being hugged, being kissed, being close to loved ones. So the first important realization is meetings are a tool, they are not the end by itself. Therefore, it's our responsibility to spend our time wisely. Second, few practical tips. First, start the week by cleaning your diary. Like I said, the Buddhists say to get wisdom, empty your cup first. So what I try to teach the team is, in a week, ask yourself, what are the meetings that are nice to have? What are the sessions which are not critical for you to join? What are the ones that are repetitive or you may have already got the information? Where can you just get the minutes of the meeting and take the appropriate action? And even though it's hard, try to build the habit of canceling 1 or 2 meetings. So that's how you start, right? You don't try to do something big, you try to start small. The second thing we do is we check frequency and timing. Many times there'll be a weekly meeting. Does it have to be every week? Can it be fortnightly? Can it be monthly? Second, there is no rule in the Bible or in the Gita that every meeting in Zoom or Teams has to be 1 hour. Because that's the default setting somebody has set up. Doesn't mean you have to follow it. You can start with a 30-minute meeting or a 15-minute meeting as well. So these are some practical tips to drive. And then lastly, I say something controversial, including to my own team, saying that, look, you are the guardian of your time. If you are truly responsible for your career and for your family and what you want to accomplish, you must ensure that you are always defending that time against wasteful meetings. Therefore, I ask everybody, please come up with your list of top 5 excuses to avoid a meeting, right? So for example, what can be the top 5 excuses? Oh, I have a conflict. I'm with a customer. I'm a little under the weather. I'm preparing a presentation, which might all be true or might be even a little bit of an exaggeration, but use these mechanisms to defend and protect your time. Trust me, if you are a passive listener in a meeting, not really contributing, and you didn't attend one day, you're not going to be missed. But that time is the time you use to do deep work,
Mm.
do quality work, do in-depth work. And when you look back after at the end of the year, there are no medals, prizes, rewards,
Correct.
promotions, bonuses, or increments for, hey, this person attended a lot of meetings or was a very
Diligent.
prompt attendee
Yeah.
or was always very diligent. No, there aren't. We get paid for results, and
Yes.
results happen when you do deep work. They don't happen when you just spend your time in meeting rooms.
Correct. You know, so many people will be listening to this conversation, and I'm sure they'll be hoping they have leaders like you in their organizations. Incredible. And I've never heard this comment that you're not going to get a bonus for attending more meetings. Well said, and it's so true. But moving on, Aseem, how can readers and professionals apply the strategies of 10x Productive to manage their time better in high pressure environments?
Yeah, so I think the first thing I say is that more than time, you have to create energy because you don't work just with time, you work with energy. When you're at your peak in 1 hour, you can get 10 times more work done.
Hmm.
When you're at low energy, it doesn't matter. Even if you have a week, you may not be very productive. So, how do you lift your energy? I think we are blessed as Indians to have the entire heritage and philosophy of yoga behind us.
Correct.
I'm a big believer in that. My wife is a yoga teacher as well, so is my sister. And therefore, a few practical tips. So, I think first, what probably should have learned in kindergarten but learned much later in life is master the art of 1 minute breathing, which is a very simple exercise. Take your one hand and put it on your stomach and your other hand on your chest. Breathe in deeply, see your diaphragm move out, breathe out. Do that for 1 minute anytime during the day to center yourself, focus yourself, and bring your energy attention to one place. Second, I think I called, we are so used to going to a cafe or a restaurant. The first thing instead of ordering, we say, hey, where's the Wi-Fi? What's the Wi-Fi password? There is a much more powerful Wi-Fi available to us that's called prayer. Prayer, in my view, is spiritual Wi-Fi. Now, everybody has their own prayers, their own God, their own spirituality, but that's a second way which generates energy, positivity inside of you. The third one is very interesting, what I call the biggest health deficiency in the business world is what I call the deficiency of vitamin A, which is vitamin appreciation. People are so shy or so conjuice or so miserly in giving appreciation to others. Building a habit of recognizing others, even if it's through a message or an email or a short phone conversation, is a very positive way to build energy in yourself. When you express to others positivity, it flows back into you. So I think the first most important action for everybody is really identify one or two or three of these mechanisms, whether it's breathing, short form of exercise, prayer, meditation, vitamin A, to build and lift your energy. Second, I think it's very important to understand that ultimately we will be faced with obstacles. We will have challenges, we will have distractions, we will have interruptions because that will come in the way of your productivity. Therefore, having somewhere written down your life list, what are the 5 6 things you want to accomplish in life, so that you can always keep going back to that every maybe 3 months 6 months to say, hey, am I on track? Am I spending enough time on this? Is this really moving in the right direction? Second, every day asking yourself, what's my most effective action today, or the most important thing that I want to accomplish? These are some of the practical ways to really make each day a little bit more productive. I would also say that for most people, we do not adequately ask ourselves enough the question, am I learning? Am I growing? Am I developing myself? Because today, in the age of AI, where new tech tools are coming, lots of work that we do today will be done by technology. It's already being, it's just not reached your organization, your company yet. Minutes of meeting, which we used to write, already being done. Content for digital, which we used to brief agencies, already being done. Now, that means every week you need to have a learning hour. So one of the tools we've implemented, Ashutosh, in Unilever International is something called Focus Friday, where we say on Fridays, there'll be no internal meetings allowed. Nobody can meet anybody. Either you spend time on the customer or the consumer outside, which is going to bring more business to the company, or you spend time learning and developing yourself. So therefore, that time, even if you spend half an hour, 1 hour on an online course for free, or even listening to podcasts like yourselves, or reading a good book or making notes, you are helping develop yourself. So having a specific time for learning and development. And then we also started another tool called RRR, which is Rest, Relearn, Recreate Day, where every quarter, if we have a good performance, we give our teams one RRR day, which allows, and that day again is pretty much no work. You focus on family, focus on self, focus on learning, focus on development. So these are, I think, some of the practical tools. But honestly, we will have good days, we will have bad days.
Correct.
The great thing is when it's over, it's over. You start fresh again. And again, you don't have to boil the ocean. There are over 106 ideas in the book. Even if you implement one of them once a week, that's already progress. So it's all about making the decision to say, my time matters to me. I know what I want with my life. And I am committed to not spending my time 8 years. I told you about meetings. We also spend 8 years watching streaming and TV. We spend 6 years on social media. So put together, you have 22 years of your adult life, literally going away on things that really don't matter that much. So that consciousness of choosing is quite important.
Amazing. Amazing. What a great response. So time for two more questions for you. Aseem, what role does mindset play in achieving the productivity that you talk about?
I think somebody had asked me saying, because I like to say that, look, getting up early is important. So few people said, look, I'm not an early morning person. It's difficult for me, etc., etc. I said, look, that's fine. I fully get it. I understand. But ask yourself, do you want to be a successful person? Do you want to spend adequate time with your family? Do you want to work on your health? Answer is yes. Okay. Instead of waking 2 hours early, can you wake up half an hour early, etc., etc. Now, yes, we will fail in the journey. But one good analogy I like to give people is, between the age of, say, 8, 9 months to the age of 2 years is the time when babies, all of us, right? All of us were babies. We learn from, we were crawling on all fours, we start to walk. So typically babies stand up, they fall, right? We've all seen that happen. And they learn. I did some research to find out, on an average, how many times does a baby fall before it learns to walk?
Okay.
And the average number is 41,000 times.
My goodness.
So 41,000 times a baby falls in different ways over the course of a 6 to 12-month period and learns to walk. So if you take that attitude to say, look, hey, I want to be more successful, more productive in different dimensions of my life. I'm willing to persist, and I understand that I will fail. I understand that sometimes I will not be successful, but I will get back on track. So for example, in the idea of I will exercise every day, I used to be the kind of person who would say, oh, I don't have time for the gym. I don't have time for yoga studio. I will do it on Saturday. I will do it next month, so on and so forth. What I learned with this experience was, I don't have to go that far. Can I, even in my hotel room when I'm traveling, do 10 push-ups? That's good enough. That's one step taken today. Can I, while commuting to work, walk a little bit more in the afternoon over lunch? Even a small step taken every day will build up over a period of time. Like, right, you said your podcast started 5 years ago. Now you have many millions of listeners. It's not just because of one great podcast, right? It's the consistency of the effort that's building up. So I think ultimately, all motivation comes from what's your purpose? What do you really want to accomplish? And what's really important for you? So I think that's the root cause of what drives motivation to make changes. And for different people, it will be different. But I just encourage everybody to say, hey, can you identify the 2-3 things that are important for you from a life goal perspective, not just work, and really keep it front of center of you. Put it on your laptop screen, write it down in a diary. And I'm a big believer in writing, by the way. I believe that when we write, we remember a lot more. It really cements in our system. So even one simple act like write your goals every single day, just write it. It takes less than 60 seconds to write those goals. That's it, not more than that. That's good enough to make the action. So I would say small actions every day. Second, always remember when you were a baby, you fell 41,000 times and you learned to walk. It's you did it. And therefore you can do this as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Aseem, on that note, I just want to say what an amazingly power-packed, knowledge-packed conversation this has been with you. Thank you for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. Uh, Thank you for speaking to me about so many incredible thoughts, which I think I've heard for the first time. Starting with your most effective action today or find your meat today to eat the frog first to canceling meetings which are not important, you're the meeting monster, to your focus Friday, to, the day for rest, relearning and recreation. And I'm amazed to see how much detail you can remember, how many hours we are in meetings, how many hours we are getting hugs, 41,000 times a baby falls. I think this conversation is going to be so powerful and so interesting for thousands of our viewers and listeners. Thank you for speaking to me, and all the very best to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh, for this time, and I really hope everybody can get 10x Productive. The book is on Amazon in India and Singapore, coming to the US very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Aseem. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.